never know. You never know. You never know. Yeah.
So last year you have passed something called Washington State House Bill 1946. Can you
Yeah,
tell what
yeah.
that is?
Yes. Oh man, that was an amazing time. So I was with Seattle Social Venture Partners, and amazing organization. They're a nonprofit organization of a number of philanthropic donors, and really the main thing is how can we recognize a lot of the injustice or social injustice that's happening within the city of Seattle, and look at it through a lens of equity. Equity mostly defined as there are certain opportunities provided to X, there's other opportunities provided to Y. How can we really allow people to recognize that they have a foot to even have a footing on? And so Seattle Social Venture Partners was lobbying with the Children's Alliance with Stefan. Stefan was amazing. Olympia to lobby for how can we allow for underrepresented children to have access to a mental health practitioner. And a lot of my lobbying efforts was just mostly focused on the fact that right now I'm living in a whole AI bubble. I work with not the AI bubble, but the AI boom, in which significant investments going into AI. And quite frankly, all of that deal flow was happening across venture capitalists. And venture capital as a market, as an asset class, is more than $300 billion of capital or cash to deploy. And the rule of thumb is that you just need to hit the power law. So you can make out of one investment, or out of 20 investments, just one probably needs to work out, maybe two. But one ideally is the one who's your home run, which means out of that $300 billion, you divide that by 20, and ideally not everyone actually hits the three. You've got a lot of capital flushing this world of innovation. And so what you're finding though is that same world was probably happening the same time with social media. The flood of capital was going to all these social media platforms. But during that time, a lot of people weren't thinking a lot of researchers weren't thinking, oh, how can we mitigate the risk of social media on children? How can we mitigate the risk of these algorithms that, quite frankly, more so favor profit than, again, and engagement more so than the longevity of how healthy should I think of myself as a 10-year-old or 9-year-old? And so the comment that I share with Frank Chop, rest in peace, the representative for the 43rd, was exactly that. And some of the senators there was exactly that. It was these children now are living in a world in which, in the past, I just have to care about the physical world, how I'm seeing the physical world, whether first how I'm feeling in the physical world because I have friends, I have to go to class. Second, am I even getting my bare nutrition? Can I physically survive? Second, mentally survive. And then third, now they have to recognize and reconcile with a digital world, which is where, oh wow, if I don't have this many followers, if I don't have this many friends, if I'm not commenting this way, I don't exist either. And these kids are like 8 years old. I don't know.
And we're not even talking about the metaverse. That's a
Yeah, right.
whole totally
And
different
that'll
world.
be
The
a fourth
metaverse.
world,
Yeah,
right?
the metaverse.
And then there's even gaming. That's a fifth world. And so these children are operating worlds in which, quite frankly, their mind is just, how can they stay? How can they be normal? It's going to be difficult. And so a lot of my lobbying was just suggesting, hey, they'll need, especially those who are underserved, and largely, especially looking at this wealth divide, don't have access to even that basic necessity of, hey, can I survive the next day without worrying about chronic absenteeism due to. So there's a significant number of the population that, quite frankly, if we're going to be looking at the advent of social media, even, so many people are still struggling with the first part. And if they can't survive there, how do you go to school and you're the smelliest kid there? You're dying. How do you go to school?
Especially
Yeah,
eighth grade. Eighth grade's a
yeah.
fucking.
It's a nightmare.
Everyone's a bully in the eighth grade.
The biggest bully. And then how do you survive on the third side where somebody sends you a tat on TikTok or something, says, hey, smelly boy, how do you do all three when you can't even do the first? And then now you go into the meta-event, and now you're like, you can become this super genius guild owner of an RPG, and you're a completely different person. You're like a boss, like everyone respects you, and you don't have to care about these three things. How do you reconcile these four different personalities you have, in which, quite frankly, in one you could be a god, in the other you're like the lowest tier person. Well, not even lowest tier, but you are socioeconomically disadvantaged. and that's hard.